here at Cultaholic, we harken back to some of the more shocking and disturbing moments from a period in WWE history primarily known for its kid-friendly programming, the Golden Era. While there isn't a specific beginning and end date to the Golden Era, most pro-grap scholars would define the period as having began around the time that the Rock and Wrestling Party died down, though some would include Rock and Wrestling, and ending as the last vestiges of Hulkamania were scrubbed from the promotion. You can move the goalposts to and fro as you see fit, but basically we're talking from 1986 or 1987 to around 1992 or 1993. No matter the parameters, to mention the era is to make diehards in their 30s and 40s drool wistfully. So if you liked hearing about the Golden Era's ghastliest moments, how's about we discuss some of the more forgotten players of the time? We remember Hulk, Macho, Warrior, and Andre, but let's shine a light on a few of the unsung gladiators. I'm Adam Pachisi from Cultaholic.com, and these are 10 forgotten Golden Era WWE talents. Join us. Number 10, Scott Casey. Presented as a rugged and resourceful Texan, Casey arrived in the WWE in 1987. Previously, the heavyweight had been a successful wrestler in the territories, with the Blanchard family's Southwest Championship Wrestling his home of many years. There, he fought for championships against the likes of Adrian Adonis and Tully Blanchard, although Casey would not enjoy the same level of notoriety in the WWE, where he was essentially an afterthought. The biggest highlight of Casey's WWE run was when he took part in the 1988 Survivor Series, albeit as a substitution for Brian Blair, who had just departed the company. Even then, Casey's time in the match wasn't all that memorable, succumbing relatively early on to Dino Bravo's side suplex. Otherwise, Casey was used as a glorified enhancement talent. After a few more months with the WWE, he left the promotion in the spring of 1989 and only wrestled a handful of matches before retiring in 1993. Casey went on to train several notable wrestlers, including Ahmed Johnson, Stevie Ray, and future six-time world champion Booker T. Number 9, Battle Cat. Veteran junior heavyweight Brady Boone had previously wrestled for WWE in 1987, working underneath mostly as a punching bag for the larger foes that populated the roster. Boone left the company in 1988 and returned 2 years later as Battle Cat, a feisty feline with an orange and purple tight scheme and a mask with little ears on top of it. Of the many masks throughout wrestling history that have struck terror in the hearts of the opposition, this probably ain't one of them. Boone debuted behind the faux whiskers in October 1990, picking up a few wins over enhancement talents, as well as against a few lower-level heels such as Boris Zukov and Playboy Buddy Rose, though the cat was scratched by the year's end. Get it? Somewhere along the gimmick's lifespan, Boone was let go from the company, and he was replaced in the role by, ironically, the very prelim wrestler he defeated in his first televised match, a veteran named Bob Bradley. Shortly after, Boone turned up in Herb Abrams' UWF promotion, calling himself Firecat, while wearing pretty much the same costume. Number 8, Black Bart. Standing 6 feet 4 inches tall and weighing in excess of 300 pounds, this burly outlaw was a 15-year veteran by the time he rolled up into the WWE at the dawn of 1990. Previous successes included a partnership with Ron Bass, where they were known as the Long Riders across several territories, and a reign as world-class heavyweight champion in Dallas. By 1990, however, Bart was 41 years old and on the downside of his career. Despite not wrestling on any pay-per-views, Bart somehow lasted 1 year with the WWE, his only victories coming over enhancement talents like Paul Diamond and Jim Powers on house shows. Otherwise, Bart's TV appearances saw him losing to the likes of Dusty Rhodes, Tito Santana, and Tugboat, before quietly leaving the promotion in early 1991. Given how much Vinnie Mac loves his beefy brawlers, you would think that Bart would have fared a bit better, but alas. 5 years later, however, Bart did wrestle for the WCW World Heavyweight title on a pay-per-view, with 59 other men in the 1995 World War III Battle Royal under the name Big Train Bart. What's up with that name change? Number 7, Al Perez. Transport Seth Rollins back to the 1980s, give him a hairstyle consistent with the time, pack on about 25 pounds of muscle, and you've got the Latin heartthrob Al Perez. A consummate technician with the look of a star, Perez won the top belts in Florida, Dallas, and Puerto Rico throughout the latter half of the 80s. By the time Perez arrived in WWE in the autumn of 1989, he was still fairly young and seemingly had many years left in his promising career. But the potential was never made good on. Perez won a few of the televised matches he had, but there were reportedly issues behind the scenes, including a discomfort with changing his look and style. There was also a confrontation with Pat Patterson, in which the veteran agent made a comment that Perez didn't take well. Not long after, Perez was gone from WWE, and he spent the last few years of his career in places like All Japan and Dallas's Global Wrestling Federation. Perez also briefly played the Black Scorpion in WCW before the company had decided on who would ultimately be under the hood. Number 6, Pete Doherty. No, not the libertine / poet / actor / former smackhead, but somebody very different indeed. Many wrestlers have taken on the losing streak gimmick, but none made it quite the art form like Doherty did. This native of Dorchester, Massachusetts, hence his nickname, the Duke of Dorchester, was identified by his unkempt appearance, which included a wild mane of blonde hair and a mouth that was down to about 4 or 5 teeth. The Duke was a staple of WWE cards in New England, where he was something of a tongue-in-cheek local hero. At one point, Doherty was reputed to have lost more than 300 matches in a row. His unimpressive record included defeats to the Junkyard Dog on the maiden broadcast of Saturday night's main event, and to Bret Hart in the opening round of the untelevised 1991 King of the Ring tournament. In between these bouts, Doherty supplemented his many defeats with occasional appearances on commentary, displaying a melodic voice that combined a Boston accent with the gargling of broken glass and shrapnel. Truly, the Duke was one of a kind, and deserves some modern appreciation for his unorthodox manner. Number 5, Big Bully Busick. The name makes him sound like a cross between Bully Ray and Biff Busick, the man known today as Oney Lorcan. This Busick, however, could possibly dispatch both men easily in a bar fight, as well as anyone else in the vicinity. A former powerlifter and police officer, the barrel-chested Busick was a 14-year pro when he joined the WWE in 1991, bringing with him one of the most unique moustaches ever seen in the sport. And consider the ground that covers. Playing the role of a turn-of-the-century ruffian, complete with bowler hat and giant cigar, Busick and manager Harvey Whippleman arrived on the scene for what turned out to be a very short stay, at least for Busick. His most famous confrontation came on an episode of Primetime Wrestling when the Brawler was attacked by Macho Man Randy Savage after the heel tormented a few young spectators. He was scheduled to wrestle on Colonel Mustafa's 1991 Survivor Series team, but left the company shortly before the event and was replaced by Hercules. Number 4, Chris Walker. You may be familiar with Conan, but we're not talking K-Dog here, we're talking Conan Chris Walker. Between his long blonde hair and his impressive muscles, Walker looked like an Ultimate Warrior clone, or possibly a slightly shrunken Tom McGee, so you can see why Vince McMahon might have been mesmerized by the prospect. Following a stint in the upstart Global Wrestling Federation, the impressive-looking Walker joined the WWE in late 1991. Walker, however, didn't appear much on TV in his 5-month stay with the company, outside of Madison Square Garden events that aired in the New York market. He actually wrestled the Brooklyn Brawler in the dark match of the 1992 Royal Rumble, and initially lost when Brawler cheated, only for President Jack Tunney to reverse the decision. When you can't beat the Brawler on the first go around, it's probably not a good sign, is it? The writing was on the wall for Walker, who left WWE that April, coincidentally around the same time that a slew of other overly muscle-bound heavyweights departed the company. What went on there? Number 3, Siva Afi. Also called CV Afi, depending on the year, this Samoan-born veteran looked to fill a rather sizable void in WWE in 1986. With the troubled Superfly Jimmy Snuka gone from the promotion as of the previous year, WWE sought to have Afi take over as a kind of de facto Snuka, much in the same way that Corporal Kirshner essentially became a Sergeant Slaughter sequel sometime after Sarge was let go in 1984. As for Afi, the WWE actually took to calling him Superfly Afi, and was billed for a time as Snuka's cousin in an attempt to get fans to view him in the same, presumably positive light. For the most part, however, Afi was a glorified enhancement talent as a babyface, putting over one mid-card villain after another. Later, Afi suddenly turned heel and joined Haku and Tama as the third Islander, though Tama left shortly thereafter, and Afi wasn't long for the WWE either, allowing for Haku to receive a singles push. The following year, the real Superfly returned to WWE, and no mention was ever made of his purported cousin again. Number 2, Mark Young. Young had an important family connection within WWE. His father was beloved veteran wrestler turned top road agent Chief Jay Strongbow, though Young didn't achieve quite the same level of fame and success as the Chief. After a few months spent as an enhancement talent around 1987, Young departed for other promotions including WCW before returning to WWE full-time in 1989. Here, Young had two defining characteristics: his star-spangled tights and his occasional bout of breakdancing. Not that either item enhanced his career prospects, by the way, as Young was pretty much pummeled on the regular by Earthquake, Mr. Perfect, and others, including in a number of tag team matches. Any wins Young garnered came away from TV cameras at house shows, defeating the likes of Frenchie Martin, one of the Conquistadors, and the aforementioned Pete Doherty. Talk about a rogues gallery. Impressive athleticism and a father who had Vince's ear weren't enough to ferry Young up the card, as he was gone before the summer of 1990 and finished his career just a few years later. Number 1. Super Ninja. More commonly known as the Portland area mainstay Rip Oliver, Super Ninja enters WWE lore for the simple fact that he once challenged for a major championship on national television. On an episode of Saturday Night's Main Event in November 1988, the veteran Oliver, managed by Mr. Fuji, donned the mask and black bodysuit which made him look like a bootleg Great Sasuke, and challenged the Ultimate Warrior for the Intercontinental title before a home audience totaling deep into the millions. As you might have guessed, Warrior ripped Rip apart in a matter of minutes, just another brick in the wall of his destruction. This wasn't Oliver's only taste of life in the WWE, however, as he previously spent the latter portion of 1987 as a fringe player for the company under the Oliver name, losing to the likes of Warrior, Randy Savage, and Jake Roberts on WWE programming, while going 50-50 with other underneath wrestlers on West Coast house shows. Oliver may have been a multi-time title holder and trusted veteran out of the Portland territory, but his most viewed match came in his one-night appearance as Super Ninja, a fleeting but nonetheless notable moment from the golden era of the WWE.